The real vision here is that you have a network, much like the internet, that anyone can participate in.
My personal view is the ultimate public ownership of the payment rails is when you have a network like the internet of interconnected institutions and computers that are maintaining ledgers and allowing direct person-to-person transactions. So as you said at the beginning, the internet's the classic example of that. And
What we're trying to build at Stellar is an internet level protocol. And
in the longer term, what I see happening here is, first of all, that having an internet native payment instrument is kind of inevitable. And when I say internet native, the problem with the internet today is there are a lot of cool apps on your phone that you can use to transact value, but because they're not internet native, they're not interoperable with each other.
Exactly.
So for example, Jeremy, if you have Zelle on your phone and I have Venmo, and that's all we have, we can't send money to each other. It's a weird closed loop.
as I started to learn more about how payments work in the world, it just became really clear to me that there needed to be this universal payment network, right? There needed to be essentially a way that no matter what financial institution you use, whether you're at a bank or like some mobile money thing or like Venmo or whatever, or you're using one currency and someone else is using another, all of these things should be interoperable, right? It should work like the internet does.
In a fully open system, kind of like in the way that my Gmail and your Hotmail can communicate with each other.
SMTP or HTTP.
Exactly.
So the analogy we always use is basically the SMTP is the underlying protocol for email, right? And it basically means where you don't have to care if somebody's at a university or a company or whatever, as long as they're running a mail server, you can send a message to them, right? And the same should be true of payments, I think. And so that's what Stellar is designed to be, is this universal payment network, essentially.
There's a reason why most internet startups choose to use Stripe as their payments platform as opposed to using a bank as their direct payments vendor. And that is because Stripe is an internet native payment processor. They know what they're about. They're direct. They exist in cyberspace. Yeah. They're not a software that is engrafted onto those protocols. Right. And if that's the case with payment processing, it seems to be inevitable that internet native money would be the fastest and most ease of use way of transmitting value across those networks.
Lumens are always needed as a kind of a DOS prevention mechanism to prevent the network being spammed. And I still think if one central bank issues a token or just they're like digital currency out there, the lumens could be useful as a bridge currency when you want to go from that fiat to a different kind of fiat, right? Maybe lumens are a natural choice for bridging the two currencies.
Kind of settling a transaction with a counterparty in seconds with with very high levels of security, and with sort of third generation blockchains, we're now seeing transaction costs that can really get approaching zero effectively, in the same way like we don't think about how much it costs to send an email. We don't think about a cross-border email. We just we have this like free communications platform that everyone just kind of connects to.
And that's essentially what we're trying to do, is make it where payments works, how information works on the internet now, where everything's interoperable. You can send money to anywhere.
What I think will happen is 3 to 5 years from now, I think banks will be connecting to blockchains the same way that they connect to SWIFT and ACH and other networks.
Right.
Once they do that, the nature of banking will begin to change, because while banking will always, I believe, be the key on-ramp and the key value-add service provider in people's financial services lives, they will not be the bottleneck of the transaction of financial services. Instead, they will be nodes on a network along with a lot of other nodes, many of which won't be banks. And that will really change, I think, and allow banks to focus on what they're best at and what we really need them to do. So I think that will happen for sure.
What we wanted to build was an internet level protocol for payments where it didn't matter what kind of financial institution you're using, whether it was a bank, some startup, some microfinance institution, some mobile money thing. If I was sending one currency, you were receiving another. All of these things should be interoperable. And so that's what Stellar is. It's an open protocol for payments.
I do think that in a world of geopolitical instability, crypto assets in general will grow and become a more significant part of people's lives. That's one of the reasons why, I believe Bitcoin prices are going up in an environment of perceived instability, is people start to believe that the sovereigns are, maybe not as trustworthy as they once were. Bitcoin is not generated by any sovereign. Maybe that's a thing to hang on to. So I think you'll see more of that.
Basically, the idea is that we are trying to build this internet level protocol for payments, right? We want it to be kind of this open standard that everyone can use. It should be neutral and accessible, and people don't want to feel like they're benefiting their competitor or there's some central company. I mean, if you imagine the internet formed by a for-profit company, it would just be a very different world, right?
Sure.
So I think it's important that